Good day everyone, especially to you Ma'am Ash. Good day. Today I am going to discuss to you the two topics which are the change in the approach to teaching culture and the content and language integrated learning or CLIL. So let's tackle first the change in the approach to teaching culture. Long gone are the days when focus in ELT was on keeping the foreign culture island alive. So, we already know what is ELT, right? So, ELT stands for English Language Teaching. It means, ELT means, refers to the activity and industry of teaching English to non-native speakers. So, just like us, since elementary, high school until now, college, our teacher teach us to speak English or encouraging us to speak English. So that is what we call ELT because they teach us a language which is not our native language. So that is why we called it ELT. In the last 2 decades, both the local or native and international culture dominate in English language classes. There is less focus on teaching the culture of native speakers of English unless there is a specific purpose for doing so. So we have here some information from Google, which is the most common approaches in the teaching of culture. So in the history of the teaching of culture, there are two approaches to the teaching of culture. First is monocultural approach and the comparative approach. So monocultural approach focus only or mostly on the culture of the country whose language is studied. So now this monocultural approach is not important. Dili na siya important because it is not considered learners' understanding of their own culture. That is why inadequate na siya karon. Next, the comparative approach. So comparative approach, those which are based on comparing learners' own and the other culture. So the essence of this, of the comparative approach is to provide a double perspective. It does not mean that learners need to evaluate which culture is better. Instead, students learn that there are many ways of doing things and their way is not only possible one. So that is a comparative approach. And now, we have another 4 approaches to the teaching of culture. But this is according to researcher. So, by the way, classmates, don't worry because I will send the link of all of this so that you can follow. So, first is the intercultural approach. So, intercultural approach based on the idea that culture is best learned through comparison. The aim is to develop learners' intercultural and communicative competences, which would enable them to function as mediators between the two cultures. An intercultural approach is where people of different cultures have engaging interactions with each other. So that is intercultural approach. And the second one is the multicultural approach. Multicultural approach draws on the idea that several cultures exist within one culture. So, the multicultural approach includes a focus on the ethnic and linguistic diversity of the target country or countries as well as the learner's own. Multicultural education is an approach to teaching and learning that seeks to empower individuals so that they may function in a global society. So that is what we call the multicultural approach. Next is the transcultural approach. So transcultural approach, the basic idea behind this is that in the modern world, cultures are interwoven due to extensive tourism, migration, worldwide communication system, economic interdependence, globalization. So Transcultural approach seeks to promote learner self-esteem and ownership of language use through not without a degree of facilitative anxiety, which will allow learners to broaden their tolerance level and develop a greater concern for diversity and change. Its main aim is to teach learners to use it for international communication. That is what we call transcultural approach. And next is the foreign cultural approach. So foreign cultural approach, it is based on the concept of a single culture and focuses on the culture of the country where the language is spoken. So it does not deal with the learner's own country and the relation between the two. The teaching aim is to develop the so-called native speaker communication and cultural competence. And that is the foreign cultural approach. So now we have here examples of monocultural approach by Galloway. So first is the Frankenstein approach. Example here is a taiko from here, a flamenco dancer from here, a gacho from here, a bullfight from here. Then next is the 4F approach. The 4F approach are those folk dances, festivals, fairs, and food. The next is the tour guide approach. Tour guide approach like monuments, cities, rivers, and etc. Then, the fourth one is the by the way approach. Sporadic lectures or bits of behavior selected indiscriminately to emphasize sharp differences. There are a number of approaches that center around various aspects of a given culture or concentrate on developing certain skills in the learners. So, first is the theme-based or thematic approach. So, this is to the teaching of culture is based around certain themes. Like for example, symbolism, value, ceremony, love, honor, humor, beauty, and many more. And next is the topic-based approach. So, topic-based approach concentrates on more general and cross-sectional topics which involve various cultural issues. So, that is the topic-based approach. Next is the problem-oriented. So, problem-oriented aims at getting learners interested in the other culture and encourages them to do some research on their own. So, that is the problem-oriented approach. So, next is the task-oriented approach. So task-oriented approach is also based on the learner's own research. So same, the problem-oriented and the task is just like the task-oriented is just like the problem-oriented. So next is the skill-centered approach. So this differs from the above given approaches in a sense that it is more practical and might be useful for those who need to live within the target language community. So that is the skill-centered approach. So the following approaches, these approaches concentrate on both giving knowledge and understanding of the country's culture and encourages students to compare it with their own. So that is what the 5 approaches. Now let's move on to our next topic, which is the Content and Language Integrated Learning or CLIL. So the CLIL is an approach where the English teacher uses cross-curricular content as the students learn about content and English. So here, for example of this is that just like Ma'am Ash, if Ma'am Ash teach us science, so we, the students, we are not just learning the content of science, but also we are learning the language she used during her discussion. So that is what we call the CLIL approach. So CLIL is an approach where students learn a subject and the second language at the same time. So CLIL is an innovative methodological approach that aims to foster the integrated learning of languages and other curricular content. Besides, it has been proved that CLIL benefits and bolsters learners' foreign language skills, as well as motivation and attention. So nonetheless, the correct implementation of CLIL implies reinforcement in areas such as teacher training, team teaching, education, and assessment, and planning, and additional resources. We have here the Coil's forces model. So the content, communication, cognition, and culture. So content. Content enabling progress in the knowledge, skills, and understanding of the specific issues of a particular curriculum. So that is the content. So the communication. Using language to learn while learning to use language itself. Then the cognition. Developing thinking skills which link concept formation, knowledge, and language. The next is the culture. Allowing exposure to diverse perspective and shared knowledge that make us more aware the others and oneself. And that would be all my report. Thank you very much.